So this is white mulberry, Morris alba. This is a nasty invasive plant that we have. It's been commercially available. Again, these fruits, which can be white, pink, depending on the cultivated variety. So they're not always white, and in fact, most of them are this purplish or reddish color. Are quite tasty. I love them. I grew up loving them. Used to have games with them where you'd smear them on everyone's clothing and get the other person in trouble. I mean, this is one of those things. But it is an invasive plant, and it was planted both for that reason. There's some medicinal uses. The leaves were also, in some varieties, were used as for silk moth production, although that's a failed type of thing here in the United States. The leaves tend to be very unusual. Many of them have extra lobes and so forth. They're shiny, not that large. This is a short to medium understory tree. That's usually short living, but I will say though, some have been known to live at least 250 years. Many of them have lots and lots of lobes. The older the tree is, the more lobed the leaves can be, and that's very different from our native one. Our native red mulberry has very, very large leaves. They're not as shiny. They're actually rough to the touch. Very few lobes on them. And they can feel almost sandpaper when you touch them. The fruits are also supposed to be a little bit tastier. But it's becoming very, very rare. And part of the reason it's becoming rare is hybridization, they think, with this non-native, nasty invasive. Another interesting thing about this, and again, this is a great little food tree and so forth. I mean, I find them quite tasty and delicious. But one of the things about it is that unfortunately, when it jumps out into the wild, these things can outcompete native plants. Where this is growing, of course, a native tree and many other things cannot grow. But on top of everything else, it can hybridize and get rid of our own native red mulberry, a big understory tree that we used to have. This tree again is known for a couple of other things. The flower, the pollen, the pollen it produces, are catapulted out at almost twice half the speed of sound. It's considered to be the fastest pollen ejection of any kind of plant that's been studied so far, and it reproduces profusely. People, of course, aren't crazy about it because this hasn't really started dropping leaves yet. But it can stain carpets, it can stain driveways, stain cars, and of course shirts, and so forth. So it can make a huge mess. But the birds do eat it, and many other animals eat it, and that's how it spreads. There is that plus to it. But unfortunately, it then spreads to new areas where it can outcompete the natives, and then, as I mentioned, unfortunately hybridize with our native red mulberry. So white mulberry, Morris alba, a nasty invasive tree that we really do want to, don't want to plant it and want to remove whenever possible.